Ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat. You ready? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's Board of Appeals hearing. Before we begin, let me introduce some members of town government that act as advisors to this board. To my left is Paul Hennings, counsel to the board. To his left is David Flynn, the planning director. To his left is Blaise Donadio, a planner in the planning department. To his left is Joe Arrico, is the building permit coordinator. Now let me tell you why you're here tonight. New York statute requires that any town that adopts zoning must also have a Board of Appeals to act as a relief valve so that those persons aggrieved by strict application of the zoning ordinance can seek relief without the expense of going to court. Town board can give Board of Appeals additional powers, such as special exception approvals, site plan approvals. In Smithtown, the town board has given this board authority regarding certificate of existing use and some special exception uses. The most common kind of application before the board are area variances. Area variants deal with dimensions such as lot area, frontage, height, setbacks, and parking spaces. New York State statute mandates that the board must consider the following 5 criteria in area variance. When you come to the podium to present your application, you need to address these 5 areas. They are posted here for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created. Number 2, whether the applicant has other feasible alternatives. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether the adverse impact on the environment will be created. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created. The statute requires the board to balance the interests of the applicant and those of the neighborhood or community. This statute further requires that the board shall grant the minimum variance shall deem necessary and adequate, and at the same time protect the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety, and welfare of the community. The board has the power to impose reasonable conditions for granting variances. Regarding procedure, cases will be called in order that they are advertised. When your case is called, please come forward, submit your affidavits and mailing receipts to Mr. Donadio. And then you will be sworn in the podium and given the opportunity to explain to this board why you need the variance. After the applicant is done speaking, all interested parties will be given one opportunity and only one opportunity to be heard. So please organize your thoughts, keep your remarks factual that are related to the case. Then I will ask the applicant to come back to the podium to answer your concerns. The board will then close the case and reserve decision. After all the hearings are closed, the board will review the case and decide some of them. Others will be reviewed at a later date. There are 3 ways to find out the results of the case. Number 1, you can wait until after the public hearing, but there's no guarantee that your case you will act on your case tonight. Number 2, you can call the planning department tomorrow afternoon. Number 3, applicants can wait to be notified by mail. After a hearing is closed, no additional information or testimony can be submitted by the applicant or any interested party. Okay, before we go to the cases, if there's anyone here for CVS, I'm just telling you that that case was closed. There is no hearing tonight on CVS. Is there anyone here for CVS? Okay. Okay, you want to start?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first case on the agenda, number 17375, Anthony Coconato, 70 Rumford Road, Kings Park, the location of the property, the southeast corner of Rumford Road and Spencer Way. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum setback of an existing 6-foot fence from edge of road pavement from 26 feet to 10 feet on Spencer Way.
Good evening.
You might have your name, please,
Anthony Coconato,
and your address.
70 Rumford Road, Kings Park, New York.
All right, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You want to tell us why you're here, please?
I'm here to applying for a variance for my fence setback it should be, I believe it's 26 feet, and I'm around 10 or 11 feet. It's on my application, and I'm trying to keep it the way it is. I have, to answer the questions, no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood. I've been in my house 16 years. Same exact fence was there. I did replace the fence, as I indicated on my application. I was unaware that it was, against the zoning rules. The benefits sought by me can be achieved by some method feasible. I mean, the cost, the expense to put the fence was up there, so it's already there right now. I don't want to reduce my backyard. I have a dog. I have a dog who likes to run around like crazy, and I'm trying to keep my privacy. I'm trying to keep as much backyard as I can. I don't know that this is considered substantial, is to address number 3. I don't believe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. It will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. And the alleged difficulty, self-created, yeah, because I replaced the existing fence that was there. But I did not change any type of, closer to the curb or anything of that nature. So I'm respectfully requesting a variance be approved.
Okay, thank you. Planning?
No comments, Madam Chair. However, we did not receive the affidavits of posting and compliance.
I was told when I did everything, I have all the receipts that I mailed and whatnot, and I was told to bring the affidavits. Don't do the affidavits before you get there, is what I was told. So
Do you have the affidavits filled out?
I have them with me. I do not have them filled out. I can fill them out.
You didn't have them notarized today?
I did not, and I was specifically told to, the posting one, do not do till you get there, so you might as well get both of them done at the same time. That's what I was told.
Okay,
Sorry.
let me just see. Mr. Tramarko? Would you be so kind to notarize affidavits? Sure. Okay. Bring all the other things here, fill out those affidavits. Mr. Tramarko will notarize them for you,
Okay.
all right? And then bring them back up here,
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
okay? Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Regularly moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
The next case on the agenda, number 17376, Joseph Pascal, 22 Valmont Lane, Comac, the location of the property, the west side of Valmont Lane, 296 feet north of Abbey Drive. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 40 to 36 feet for a proposed 107-square-foot roof over porch.
May I have your name, please?
Joseph Pascal.
And your address, Joseph.
It's 22 Valmont Lane, Comac, New York.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
I would, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
He did.
May I have your name, please?
Okay. My name's Robert O'Shea. I'm an architect at 821 West Jericho Turnpike in Smithtown.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm here representing Mr. Pascal, who would like to build an addition to his house consisting of a second-story addition, some work on the first floor, and the portion of the project that requires the front yard setback variance is a 6-foot-deep, 107-square-foot covered porch in the front of the house. I have myself been before this board on 7 or 8 occasions for front porch applications, and here and there sprinkled throughout the town, and each and every one of those was approved by this board. As I've explained in those past occasions, this is not an enclosed structure. It's an open-sided structure that is very inviting to the house, and they're becoming more and more prevalent throughout the town. As just appropriate additions to homes on Long Island in general. We see I'm sorry, as far as the questions are concerned, this would not produce any impact on adjacent properties because of the fact that the porch is an open-sided structure that really doesn't add to any of the overall mass of the building. The request is not substantial since we're requesting roughly a 10% relaxation of the required front yard setback regulations. The benefit cannot be achieved on an alternative method since any front porch addition will require this same variance. The variance would not cause any adverse effect on the environment since this property is not located in any of the mapped environmentally sensitive sections of the town. And finally, this difficulty was not self-created since it has not yet been constructed, and also the size and location and configuration of the house was determined by the original developer of the property. I would like to add that I have 4 statements of consent from the owners of 20 Valmont, 24 Valmont, 25, and 27 Valmont. These represent the property owners on either side of the house, as well as the 2 across the street. And it simply reads that I, the person and address, being a resident of Comac and an owner of property within 200 feet of 22 Valmont Lane, have seen and understand the plans for the construction for which a zoning variance is being sought, and hereby encourage the board to vote in favor of the application. I'd like to submit these to you for your consideration.
Thank you so much.
As I said, these are quite common in the town, and we certainly don't feel that this will have any adverse effect on the public health, safety, or welfare, and sincerely hope the board will grant the application.
Thank you. Planning,
No comments.
gentlemen?
No, ma'am. No question.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Regularly moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. You're welcome.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17377, Michael and Hillary Epstein, 71 Mowbray Lane, Smithtown. The location of the property, the north side of Mowbray Lane, 160 feet east of Pine Ridge Drive. The property is owned R21. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 75 feet, 39 feet existing, to 26 feet for an existing 288 square foot screened-in porch and a proposed 618 square foot attached garage.
All right, who's? Okay.
The public speaker.
Pardon me?
I guess
The speaker.
Okay, may I have your name
Hillary Epstein,
and your address, Hillary?
71 Mowbray Lane, Smithtown.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Okay, you want to tell us why you're here, please?
sure. We're hoping to put a 2-car garage onto the side of our house. And also, we have a screened-in porch that was put on an existing patio that's already on our home, in the back of our home. Whether or not it will create an undesirable change in the neighborhood or a detriment to any nearby properties, it won't. The porch has been there, and the other is just a garage. Whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance, no.
Speak up as much as you can.
Oh, I'm sorry. If the requested area variance is substantial, it's not, it's a small porch and a relatively small garage. And an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district, it doesn't pose anything detrimental. We're in a regular residential neighborhood that has other screened-in porches and garages. The porch was self-created, but it was put on an existing patio. And the garage has not been built yet.
Planning?
No comments.
Gentlemen?
No. No, ma'am. No question.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Planning?
No comments.
No comments. Gentlemen?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Come up, please. Will you sit down, please, so she can speak? Just stay right there. She can hear. Let me have your name, please?
My name is Nancy Dervin.
Use the mic as much as you can.
My name is Nancy Dervin,
Spell the last name.
D-E-R-V-A-N. I own the property right behind.
Okay, what's your address?
I live at 6 Oakfield Road, St. James, but my daughter and I own,
Wait a minute.
okay,
All right. Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Go ahead.
So I live in St. James, but my daughter and I own the property on 34 Argyle Place, which is right behind the house on Mowbray. I feel that the buildings that they're going to make are going to be encroaching pretty close to my property. The garage seems to be very big that they're making, and I have not seen the plans, and I'm not sure exactly if they're building a two-car garage or using the garage for other purposes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'll give you a chance to come back to answer her concerns.
I'm aware of where her property is. It's right behind us. We're not going backwards, we're just going sideways. It's definitely for our cars. We're getting older, and we found the winters. Mike slipped on the ice last year. We just want to be able to go from the garage into the house safely. And, but we do have the plans, and we'd be happy to share them, you know, with Nancy.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really moving second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
She's killing me.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17378, Jennifer Hofer, 6A Saturn Boulevard, Hauppauge. The location of the property, the northeast corner of Saturn Boulevard and Clifford Boulevard. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the front yard setback on Clifford Boulevard from 40 to 20 feet for a proposed 470 square foot attached garage and 185 square foot first floor addition.
Hello.
Hello. You want to bring your affidavits and everything over, please?
Thank you.
And your green cards?
Oh.
May I have your name, please?
Sure, I'm Jennifer Hofer,
Okay, and your address?
6A Saturn Boulevard, Hauppauge.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Hi.
You want to tell us why you're here, please?
I'm here this evening to request a variance for an addition to my existing home. We're combining two homes, so we're trying to make the existing home a little bit bigger. We're looking to add a side-load garage, which would face the Clifford side of the property on the corner house, and also an additional bedroom that would go over the existing roof and a little bit onto the garage we're hoping to add on. Not sure. I do not believe there would be an adverse effect on the environment. It's a standard neighborhood. I don't have any kind of special environmental areas around me. It's not been self-created. It hasn't happened yet. Hopefully it will. And I'm just hoping to be able to expand the home we live in because I like the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Planning?
No comments.
Gentlemen?
No, ma'am. All right.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
Really moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The next case on the agenda, number 17379, 347 Building Company LLC. The location of the property, the north side of Route 347, 164 feet west of Route 111, Hop. The property is zoned R6. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum lot area per dwelling unit from 7,260 square feet to 6,731 square feet. Reduce the minimum front yard setback for parking from 100 to 80 feet. Increase the maximum gross floor area from 30% to 36%. Increase the maximum lot coverage from 15 to 20%. Increase the number of dwelling units in two buildings from 6 to 7 and from 6 to 8. Permit structures within 10 feet of environmentally sensitive land, depth to groundwater less than 10 feet. Permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered, depth to groundwater less than 10 feet. Increase the yield from 27 to 69 dwelling units.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, my name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavit of posting and compliance to Joseph Arrico. At the outset, I'd like to indicate to the board something that they probably know already. Beechwood Organization, and specifically Michael Dubb, its CEO, have built approximately 40 lifestyle communities in Nassau and Suffolk County. They've also built a few in the city. So they know what they're doing. This is not their first rodeo. As a matter of fact, in Smithtown, they built, or Beechwood built, 3 communities. The first one, I think, was built in Kings Park. There's 137 townhouses, all sold. There's no vacancies or houses that don't get sold right away. Tiffany Park off Browns Road, 88 units of townhouses. And if you remember the old drive-in movie on 347 and Jericho, Beechwood bought that property and constructed 197 townhomes and flats. So again, they know what they're doing. They come to this board with certain ideas that they have developed over the years with respect to the type of community they would like to build on the old Smithtown Hospital property. The property has been vacant, and probably for 10 or 12 years, the main buildings were knocked down some time ago. So the idea of this whole application today is to ask this board for some variances which are really not substantial, but would help the design and the application of the units on the property. This board granted variances some time ago, and they did grant 69 units, although those units were just slightly smaller than the ones that we're applying for today. The lot area per dwelling unit, minimum lot area, I guess you could call it the FAR, well, that would be the next one over, 7260 to 6931, that's 529 square feet. It's really minimal. Increased maximum lot coverage from 15% to 19.03. Increased maximum gross floor area from 30 to 35. Again, all of these are minimal, but help to present units that are certainly far above the norm that we see in other areas. I think now I'd like to call Courtney Riley, who'll talk about some of the engineering aspects of the property and touch on the buffer areas that we propose with respect to this application.
Okay, Courtney, let me have your name and address. Spell your last name.
Sure. Courtney Riley, R-I-L-E-Y, at VHB, located at 100 Motor Parkway, Suite 135, Hop Hog, New York.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. My name is Courtney Riley from VHB Engineering, located at 100 Motor Parkway, Suite 135, Hop Hog, New York. The proposed residential development is a 69-unit.
Wait a minute.
Sure. The proposed residential development is 69-unit townhome complex on 11.63 acres. The property is along Route 111 and Route 347, and the site is zoned R6 townhome. The site currently has 2 accesses, one on each roadway. The proposed development will access the existing traffic signal on Route 111. The entrance will have 2 lanes into the site and 1 lane exiting the site. A guard booth will be placed at the entrance. The existing curb cut on Route 347 will be relocated to the east and converted into an emergency access route. We are currently meeting the parking requirement. Per the code ordinance, 4 spaces are required per unit, for a total of 276 spaces. There will be 2 spaces in the driveway, 2 spaces within the garage, and 69 standard parking stalls, as well as 19 land bank stalls. The proposed development meets the dimensional criteria, except for 1, the minimum front yard setback for parking. The dimension on the east side of the property to the site is to the end of the driveway. The dimension to the east side, the end of the driveway, that's 80 feet. The closest parking stall is actually within the driveway, which is 118.5 feet, located at Unit 56 in the corner. We are meeting the 100-foot building and parking front yard setback from the roadways. We are meeting the 50-foot building and parking rear yard setback in the rear, and the 50 building and parking foot yard setback on the sides. There are 4 types of units. AB, which is a 2-unit, 2-story villa. Unit C, which is a 1-unit, 2-story townhome. Unit D, which is a 1-unit, 2-story townhome. And Unit EF, which is a 2-story, 2-unit townhome. There are 13 buildings in total. One of these buildings will have 7 units, and one of these buildings will have 8 units. The other buildings will have 6 units or less. This requires a variance from the code where it states that only 6 units per building are allowed. The units that have 7 are this corner. Units that have 8 are opposite of the wall. The minimum lot dwelling is based on the total developable area. This is 6,731 square feet. Required is 7,260 square feet. This is a 7% variance. The gross floor area of the total units, which is 163,233 square feet, will also require a variance from the 30% required. We are seeking a 35.17% variance, 5.17% difference. The additional variance being sought is also from the lot building coverage from 15% to 19%. In the northwest corner, there's an existing wetland. Pursuant to the New York State DEC, there is a requirement of a 100-foot buffer. Existing today, there is guardrail and pavement within this area. Currently, when it was developed, there is a sewage treatment plant that exists out here, and it has pavement that goes around as well as guardrail. At the discretion of the New York State DEC, we'll be seeking a permit to revegetate the area as well as add our drainage reserve area. Our drainage reserve area would be within that pavement area for the most part, and we would have, it would be approximately 4 to 5 feet deep with dry wells and diffusion wells at the bottom to keep it dry. The existing sewage treatment plant located at the northwest corner of the site, again, will be removed, and the new STP would be on the south side along New York State 347. It's about 104 feet back from 347. All the proposed lighting will be downward facing, dark sky compliant with full cutoffs to prevent light pollution, and there be no light spillage to the adjacent properties nor street per town code ordinance. That concludes my presentation. If anyone has any questions, I'd be more than welcome to answer them.
Do you have any questions at this time? Yes, go ahead.
Comment to the board. The planning department is recommending approval, even though it seems like there are many variances. This has less impact on the neighborhood than the previous approval. The setbacks are bigger, the sewage treatment plant is moved away from the homes, the amount of pavement is less. For those and other reasons, we're recommending approval.
Okay.
Just have one question for you. On that area where you have 80-foot setback to the pavement, what is that?
So it's essentially a turnaround area for any fire truck.
Yeah, you need the mic.
So the reason why this is so wide in this corner is for a fire truck to be able to turn around in that T.
Okay.
So here is essentially the 100-foot front yard setback, and we are 80 feet from essentially this dimension right here.
Thank you.
Any other questions right now?
No
Okay.
question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I now like to call Ginny Wattrell from VHB, who'll talk very shortly about the planning considerations that Beechwood took into account in planning this lifestyle development.
Good evening. I'm Ginny Wattrell, a senior technical advisor with VHB Engineering.
First of all, spell your last name.
W-A-T-R-A-L.
Okay. And you have her address?
100 Motor Parkway, Suite 135, Hauppauge.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I will be very brief. As you stated earlier, Madam Chairwoman, the criteria that the board looks at in consideration of area variances, I just wanted to briefly go through it from a planning perspective and how we reviewed everything. As it was indicated, a number of these variances were previously granted under a prior application, similar but different. And we feel that this application has been improved because the STP has been moved away from the homes, away from the wetland. That paved area will be revegetated, all in accordance with New York State DEC regulations. We don't feel that the area variances are substantial. With regard to the environmentally sensitive land, as the property was previously developed with the hospital, these are not pristine grounds. And we feel that removal of the blighted property, the existing foundations and demolition debris that are remaining from the hospital with a modern residential development that, as Mr. Tremarco indicated, Beechwood clearly has a wonderful reputation and a successful model that they go from. And we feel that we've met all of the variance criteria in accordance with 267B of New York State Town Law. And I'd be happy, I don't want to belabor the point, I'd be happy to answer any specific questions that you have.
Gentlemen, any questions at this time? Here? Okay.
No.
Thank you so much.
That concludes the presentation. I'd just like the opportunity to come back if anybody speaks on this project. Thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I ask Mr. Tremarco
Yes.
a question?
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Tremarco? I don't remember, I think we discussed this in the office a couple of months ago, but Does this reflect the Long Island Workforce Housing Act? Does this have the units in there? Where does this?
Well, we'll conform to the Workforce Housing Act.
But one of the provisions of the act is a bonus density of 10% units. And my concern is let's just say this is, I think, 69 units? Or
I don't
whatever the
think, yeah, but I don't think the 69 contains bonus units.
Well, that's my concern, because the board is looking at, say, 69 units, but if you're really going to build 75 units, then the board isn't seeing what will be built.
Well, your concern is well-founded, but we're going to build 69.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone here that'd like to be heard on this application? If you are, please line up, please, over here, so that I can have you come up one at a time. You can take that mic out. Is he going to speak? You can take that mic out for him? Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let me have your name, please.
My name is George Taborski. I live at 476 Route 111.
Okay. First of all, spell your last name.
Taborski.
Okay. Now give me your address again.
476 Route 111.
Okay. Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Okay. Tell me where you...
I live right adjacent to the east side of the property. My driveway leads onto Route 111 as it is. I deal with a tremendous amount of traffic as it is getting out of there. My mom already got hit driving into our house at one time. I'm concerned about the setback on our property of the buildings, how close they're going to come to our property, and the traffic volume that's going to influence us on a daily basis. As already we dealt with the 111 V47 construction, which, you know, some property, and now thinking about talking about more. I think they're talking about some kind of exit lane, maybe producing, is that correct? To get into the, so my concern is, you know, me getting out of my house on a regular basis about getting hit or difficulties.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing. Okay.
Just wait, let him go. Okay. Okay. Let me
Okay.
have your name and spell your last name.
Judy Rowe, R-O-E,
And your
2
address?
Tanglewood Drive.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
All right, this is going on a long time. The last time this originally was proposed back in 2003, so this has been going on for about 12 years. So it would be nice to see some progress being made. All right, but we do have some certain questions. Some of them have been answered. I wish this was put up earlier so that we could at least looked at it, so that maybe my questions would have been answered. All right, first of all, my house is on the rear parking lot where that guardrail is. When that hospital was built, they filled that area in. So presently, that parking lot sits above our 6-foot stockade fence. So what I'm curious about is what's going to happen. Are these houses going to be placed on that same area where it's going to be quite a bit above our 6-foot stockade fence? Okay?
Yep.
You see where it is? All right. Also, we're curious about the buffer zone. When they talk about a buffer zone, do they talk about the buffer zone being from the edge of the property or the edge of the building?
Okay, I'll ask all these questions to Mr.
Oh, okay.
Russo.
All right, let's see what else I have here. When do they plan on breaking ground for this project? That's the other question. What are the prices they're going to go? Because originally, when it was done back in, was it 07? It was $555,000. I don't know what it's going for now. All right, air conditioning units, will they be on top of the buildings, and how noisy will they be? And I'm very pleased that that sewage treatment plant has been moved, because I know I've been in contact with the health department over that, so they were very glad to hear that that's going. And I'm just curious, when they talk about depth of the groundwater, 10 feet, what is the depth of groundwater that you presently allow? 20 feet? 15 feet? So I don't know what the original amount of footage is. All right, let's see, what else do I have here? I think that's about it.
Okay. Thank
So,
you.
thank you very much.
Okay, next, please. May I have your name, please?
Yes, it's Ken Nord. Ken Nord is spelled N-O-R-D.
Okay, and your address?
Is 6 Haven Lane, Smithtown.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. It's the main points that we're concerned about, same as before us, was that the impact on the area, on the neighborhood, be negative or on that. The person before talked about the 111 access into the neighborhood. It currently backs up way past the entrances right now into our neighborhood. So having an additional 139 vehicles up to 200 some, if the whole place is full, is going to have a huge impact on that. I'm not necessarily opposed to the development, please. It's better than what's there now.
Excuse me, just address this board.
Sorry. But the traffic impact, has there been a traffic impact studies or any of that with the additional travel? Because right now it's extremely difficult to get in and out of that neighborhood around, even with the new improvements that they had on the 111 into that neighborhood at rush hour at any time in the morning or in the evening. Those are the one. And then two is, again, the buffer zone. What is considered buffer zone? And you talk about the night, what do you call it, the light leaking into the neighborhoods. If the buildings are above, what are the rules for that? And what is a buffer? Is there going to be a fence there? People coming in and out of our neighborhood, we on a dead-end street there. So is there going to be, just more curious on what is going to be that buffer around that whole neighborhood? Is there going to be a fence there? Is it going to be a 4-foot fence like it is now? Or is it going to be a 6-foot fence? Things like that. So those are my main concerns. Again, moving the sewage plant, thank you, if that's possible. But that's it, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? All right. Come up, please. Let me
Glenn
have your name,
Stevens.
please, and spell your last name.
Glenn Stevens,
And spell your last name.
S-T-E-P-H-E-N-S.
Okay, and your address, please?
16 Tanglewood Drive.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. I've lived downstream from that hospital since it was built on the headwaters.
You gotta speak a little bit louder.
I've lived downstream from that hospital property since the hospital was built on that headwaters in 1960. The environmental impact of that property was negative, plus the traffic, of course, on 111. It should probably not be built, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
Donald King, 75 East Main Street, Kings Park, New York. I represent.
Go ahead, are you representing someone? Or
Yes.
yourself?
I represent 3 neighbors who live on Privet Court. They are not opposed to this application. In fact, they're very happy about it. They just had a couple of concerns I'd like to go over, if you don't mind. Give me a couple of minutes. The photos represent one of the client's houses. You can see it's a magnificent home. The other 2 gentlemen have beautiful homes. They have a lot at stake here. And the other photo represents their rear yard, which they've been living with for a long time, around 10 years or so. It looks like Chernobyl. So they're very happy to have the Beechwood organization particularly work on this, and we've talked to them, and they've made certain representations, and I believe they will carry forward with it. The movement of the sewage treatment plant is very important to them, and that be out away from the houses. I think I mentioned to you the other day that the sewage treatment plant on St. John Land Road was expanded right on the river. And the smell there is disgusting during the summer. And the movement of the sewage treatment plant is a big factor for my clients. The height of they're satisfied with the height of the building as long as it doesn't go over 35 feet. It's represented to be 35 feet. They want to make sure that the setbacks are held to. There's a recharge, they call it a recharge, I think, by their property. It's going to be, they indicated to me, about 4 feet deep. My clients are very concerned that as many trees as can be saved as a result of this part of the application. And they don't want giant redwoods, but they'd like a substantial number of trees planted between their property on Privet and this application. If you can get Leyland cypresses or something that goes up to 80 feet, you guys are planning would do that, it would really help my clients immensely. We addressed the asbestos question. I understand it was addressed by the town and cleared, so we're okay on that. So if you guys could keep the setback, keep that sewage treatment plant where it's supposed to be, plant trees, as many as you can get in there, we'll be very happy to see this leave the area. I think it's a great thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay. Mr. Tramarko, there were some questions that maybe you can answer.
And Vinny, met Vinny's nurse and minder before.
Don recommended the nurse, as she's been taking care of him for a number of years now. Anyway, I'd like to call Courtney to answer some of those questions that were posed by people in the audience.
So to answer some of the questions that has been brought up a little bit about traffic. Currently today there is a right turn lane that has been installed here that would be utilized for the site. There is a signal at this intersection. The state did install actually heads facing the development. Now we would be adding obviously signal timing and looping to upgrade the signal, but it is in place and it was thought of already. We'd also be widening the entrance a little bit more than is today, and there is a right turn lane that we'd be utilizing. Per ITE code, the max peak is 36 trips in the PM. But we will work with the planning staff to take a look at, and the highway division to take a look at how we can work with that and improve that area. As far as the buffer or setback, the setbacks are obviously to the buildings. There is no buffer that is required. But what we will be doing is maintaining. You could see that a lot of the utilities actually hug the back of the area, and what we're doing is maintaining as much of the existing vegetation along the perimeter. So from your house, sir, that's in the corner on Route 111, all the way through Haven Lane, and then back to Pivot Court. As described previously, the drainage reserve area will be in the asphalt area that exists today. Pivot Court actually has a 50 feet on their side. The nearest home is 82 feet past that, so about 132 feet from our actual property line. Then our side will maintain between 20 and 30 feet, and then build our drainage reserve area, which would be adding some diffusion as well to keep the water down and to make sure it doesn't fill up with water. Just to kind of look through my notes to explain other questions. There will be a fence that surrounds the entire site. It will be a 6-foot high fence that would contain everything. Again, in the front of the building, in the front of the entrance, we will have a guard booth. So it's an interest, obviously, for both sides to have a fence. And I think someone brought up also the depth to groundwater. Currently, based on the soil borings that were performed about 3 months ago, groundwater varies between 7 to 12 foot deep in the area where essentially the wetland is, and in this area here. Upwards on the higher side, it's about 15 to 16 feet. Did I answer all? Do you have any more? Did I answer all?
Any other questions, gentlemen? No. Thank you so much.
Just a couple of things. Haven Lane dead ends right into the property. There'll be, as there is now, a fence across it. We have no intention of opening it up. It'll stay closed and will be that way forever. We asked the board for its favorable consideration. I spoke to Paul Race, the project manager. He said he would be more than happy to put trees up, subject to planning department's recommendation and possibly the DEC, because they may have something to say about it, but we're good with putting trees or planting trees. So we asked the board for its favorable consideration. I think certainly Beechwood organization would benefit by this project, but so would the town of Smithtown. They're a class act, and you can tell by going to Tiffany Park, going to where the old drive-in movie was, and also in Kings Park. So we asked the board for its favorable consideration. If there are any other questions, I'll try to answer them.
Is there any other questions, gentlemen? No. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Israeli moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay.
Dave, Steve working on that? Oh, is he? Oh, what? Chick-fil-A.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to speak, you need to go to the hallway or into the library, please. Okay.
Okay. Madam Chair, the next case, number 17380, Francine Bliss, 18 Marie Court, Comac. The location of the property, the northeast corner of Marie Court and Marie Crescent. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum setback of a proposed 6-foot fence from the edge of road pavement from 26 feet to 10 feet on Marie Crescent.
May I have your name, please?
Francine Bliss, B-L-I-S-S, 18 Marie Court, Comac, New York.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I'm looking for a variance today to reduce the minimum setback, as he said, from a proposed 6-foot fence from the edge of the road pavement from 26 feet to 10 feet. At the present time, there's a 4-foot fence there. And the issue at this time is that the 4-foot is at 10 feet. I have a dog. The children walk to the park, and the dog comes up almost over the fence. As I have pictures there of the dog. The children are tormenting the dog, teasing him, and I'm concerned that somebody's going to get hurt. So I wanted to go up higher for the safety of the dog and the children. There's a bus stop that's there, so that also kind of adds to it in the morning and the afternoon. There's no undesirable change. There's already a fence that's there. I do have bushes that are higher than the fence and higher than the 6 feet, as you can see in the pictures as well. But that's not enough to keep the dog back. There's no substantial effect to either the environment or physical, because it's already, the fence is already there. And the prior owner had put the fence, and it was also because it's a 4-foot is permitted to be there. And that's it.
Okay. Planning?
Madam Chair, as you're aware, this is one of the sites that we did go and do a visual inspection of. One issue that the applicant has with the property is that the existing stockade fence is actually approximately 3 feet within the town right-of-way. In order to replace that fence and even have it on their property, they'd have to move it back 3 feet at least in order to have it on their own property and not within the town right-of-way.
What do you mean, I'm not sure what you mean about the town right-of-way.
The town right-of-way consists of the paved road, which is between the two curbed portions of the roadway.
Okay.
And usually, the paved portion is about 30 feet wide. The town right-of-way is approximately 50 feet wide. So past the edge of the curb on either side of a paved road, approximately 10 feet of that is town-owned property, which is part of the right-of-way.
Okay, so in other words, even if I needed to replace the fence,
You would have to move it back about 3 feet.
At least. We may not even, I don't know what the decision will be. But we may ask you to move it back more than that. I'm not sure.
okay, I mean,
2.5.
so then I can just leave it there. Worst case scenario, and then when somebody's,
I don't think you can leave it there with 4 feet.
well, it's already there. It's been there. I bought it like that. It went through everything. It went through all the inspection. I had a new survey done. I've only been there a year. It went through all the proper channels for me to buy the home.
Go ahead, Steve.
So in other words, even the right-of-way at that point, with the curb and the process that I've been going through over in a year and a half, that it's up, and I've had kids tripping on it, that still hasn't been fixed. But I have to maintain the grass and everything else.
Enforcement's up to, I guess, the Department of Public Safety. I don't know if they,
I don't need
I understand that they act only on a complaint basis, but the Board of Appeals in the past, to the best of my knowledge, hasn't approved fences on someone else's property.
Right.
Okay, I guess that's it.
I mean, I don't know what the public safety is going to ask, but, and I don't know what our decision will be.
Okay.
But they'll probably ask you to move the fence.
So in other words, by me doing the right thing, I'm being penalized. Because people who have already put up a 6-foot fence without going for a permit is permitted to stay there. Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 within a 5-block radius that are a corner house that if you measure from the curb line to the fence is 10 feet. Because they didn't go for a variance, they're permitted to have it.
Yep.
Just like, and I'm going to be penalized. I mean, like I said, I went through the whole process of buying my home. And there was nothing said. I went to the building department with it.
I think what Dave was trying to say was that you have the fence that's there right now.
Yes.
If you leave the fence, this board isn't charged with enforcement, so it's not like we're going to go out and say, oh, that fence is there. However, if we do, even if we approved your application, if we said, okay, you can put a 6-foot fence, which I don't know what the board would do, you'd still have to put it 3 feet back so that it's on your property. So even if we can't grant a variance on property that that you're not asking for. It's like us saying,
Okay, so
you
it's
can put your
13 feet then from the curb?
No, it's.
I'm not understanding what you mean by the
Essentially, the
bypass.
town, I think you submitted this survey here. On your survey, you can see that the fence is about 3 feet over your property line. That property line may or may not be 10 feet. The right-of-way is 50 feet wide at that location, but according to your survey, your fence is in the right-of-way.
Okay.
So I think what Dave was trying to explain was even if we granted what you're asking for, when the inspector comes, he's going to want to see it on your property, not on the town's property.
Okay, on the line.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
If I could just follow up to that, I believe Marie Crescent is a 60-foot right-of-way, and it may explain 12-foot shoulder instead of 10.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17381, David DePinto, Semfire LLC. The location of the property, 737 Smithtown Bypass, Smithtown. The property is zoned WSI. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the number of parking spaces from 51 to 17.
Vincent J. Messina Jr., Simrai Kasakov and Messina, 267 Carlton Avenue, Central Islip, New York, for the applicant. As you heard from the call of the meeting, we're here for a parking variance on the parking, which is in fact, by virtue of the recent Court of Appeals decisions, an area variance. The variance was necessitated by a change in the use of the property. When my client bought it, previously it was a physical therapy establishment, a swimming pool training establishment, and a restaurant, all three uses in that building. He is converting to a single-user building that is specifically for his law office and for himself and 6 employees. A total of 7 people will be working at the site on a daily basis. Subject premises are on the south side of Smithtown Bypass, bounded on the west by the AAA facility, and bounded on the east by a catering facility, which also offers cooking classes. Across Smithtown Bypass are several office buildings, a bank, and a tutor-time preschool. The adjoining catering establishment has 21 parking spaces. Just to the east of that is a lighting and electrical supply house that has less than 17 spaces, as well as a Meineke car repair use, which also has less than 17 spaces. And all of those buildings are approximately the same size as the subject premises and clearly a more intensive use. So as a result of the nature and character of the area, there'll be no undesirable change in the area. This use is consistent and in fact is consistent with the master plan for the area. The benefits sought here cannot be achieved by anything other than an area variance. There's no place else to park the cars but on the site, and the site is limited by its physical dimensions. And while it may seem substantial in light of the low number of users on the site, we respectfully submit that there'll be more than sufficient parking. Again, no adverse effects because the parking will still be contained on the site given the low number of users in the building. And we acknowledge the difficulty was self-created by virtue of our buying the building with the limitations that it has on the property. If there are any questions, our architect is here as well to answer, as am I, and if not,
No,
I thank
do
you
have
for
a
your kind
question.
consideration.
I do. My concern is, as you said before, it has changed uses
Yes.
many times. What happens if this attorney decides to leave and another use comes in?
We have no issue covenanting the use, Madam Chairwoman. If you want, we can certainly agree to that.
Or can we land bank anything that, if another use comes in, I don't know.
The, what was I going to say? Planning recommends approval for 3 reasons. One is the change of use is better for the town.
Right.
Second is the owner said that they have only 6 people who work there, and the number of growth that they anticipate is nil. They don't want to grow.
Right.
And that they would be willing to put a covenant on the property that if they sell it, it's up to somebody else to get the proper approvals. And so that the increase in land, and also the property's big enough to fit more stalls, albeit with less landscaping. So it seemed as though that why provide more paving than is necessary. I think it's better for the property values and the image of the town. Based on what was told to me at the office, it wouldn't create an impact on the parking of adjacent properties, that any clients or staff here, the parking is sufficient for any clients or staff here, so there'd be no need to encroach or use other properties.
And so with that restricted covenant, if another use comes in, they would have to come back to us.
Correct. I don't think it's proper to put a covenant on based on ownership, but based on use.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm
okay.
concerned about.
Yeah, so like if they sell to somebody who wants to use it for an office, the variance runs with the land with respect to that,
Right.
and not with the owner.
Any other questions?
No question.
Thank you.
John, anybody?
No.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
It's regularly moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Good night. Wait a minute. Here you go.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17382, Linda Camps, 785 Meadow Road, Smithtown. The location of the property, the north side of Meadow Road, 128 feet east of Gardner Road. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 16 feet to 15 feet and total side yards from 34 to 31 feet for an existing 1,205 square foot detached garage with 2 attached carports, 248 square feet each. All good?
Good evening.
Good evening. May I have your name, please?
My name is Linda Camps, C-A-M-P-S. I live at 785 Meadow Road.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'm here to ask for variance for an existing garage. The garage has been there for close to over 15 years, and it hasn't caused any detrimental property to, or created any problems with anyone else, that live next door to me or in the neighborhood. I believe that it's not going to cause anything substantial. According to the Department of Environmental Conservation, I got a letter from them, and they said that had the permit been requested at the time the garage was built, they would have permitted the garage in the current location, and there is no apparent environmental damage. And as of the day of their site visit, the department considered all structures on the property to be legal and may remain as built. So I'm hoping that the board would grant me the variance for the garage.
You realize there's no action. You need a local waterway violation program, an LWRP. You know what that is?
No, ma'am.
Right. You want to explain it to them, sir?
There's a New York State program that governs the coastal zone. And in the town of Smithtown, I think your property is right on the border between the coastal zone and the non-coastal zone. And anything in the coastal zone, boards cannot approve unless the town board first determines that the approval is consistent with the state and local policies. I thought this was out of the area, but apparently it's in.
I just don't know what.
If you're in, you're right on the cusp. So we'll check to make sure. But if you are, you need to apply to the town board for them to determine whether or not what you're doing is consistent. You apply through the planning department, but it's a town board matter. So I apologize that we didn't pick it up. I thought we looked at the map when you were in and determined your property was not in the coastal area, but I might have misread the property. So we'll confirm it, though, and we'll contact you.
Okay, so do I have to come back?
No. No, you don't have to come back. But they'll let you know if you need to apply for the LWRP, and Mr. Flynn or Mr. Donadio will contact you and let you know.
I guess I would go to the planning department tomorrow to, to get all the information necessary.
That's fine. And this is already built, so you're not
Yes,
being
ma'am.
hurt as far as it being held up. Am I
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Gentlemen, do you have any other questions?
No.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17350, North Star Holdings LLC. The location of the property, the northwest corner of Smithtown Boulevard and Dorothy Street in Smithtown. The property is zoned NB. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum lot area from 7,500 square feet to 7,432 square feet for a 1,680 square foot building. Reduce the minimum front yard setback from 50 to 13 feet on Dorothy Street. Reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 20 to 15 feet. Reduce the minimum parking from 15 to 9 spaces. Reduce the truck loading spaces from 1 to 0. Reduce the minimum parking setback from the front property line from 6 feet to 0 on Smithtown Boulevard. Reduce the minimum parking setback from the front property line from 6 feet to 2 feet on Dorothy Street. Reduce the minimum side yard setback from 6 feet to 0 for proposed accessory structure. Reduce the front yard setback on Smithtown Boulevard from 50 to 35 feet for proposed dumpster enclosure.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, my name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted affidavits of posting and mailing to Joseph Arico. What happened here is we drew up some plans. We brought them into the planning department. The planning department took a look at them. Blaze helped us out quite a bit with our map and our site plan, and ultimately we and or my client Frank Caridley and Blaze commiserated, and they come up with the map that you have, a site plan that you have in front of you. It has a green strip.
Excuse me. Gentlemen, this is the new plan. The one you're looking at is not the new plan. So on, right there, that was on, that's the new plan. I'm sorry, Mr. Tremarco.
That's okay. In any event, if you have the map now with the green strip is really black asphalt, I guess. The suggestions from Blaze were well taken, and we ended up with these variance requests. Although they seem numerous, they're really the right way to go with this particular piece of property. You can see that the lot area is 7432 and the minimum is 75, and the front yard from 50 to 13, and rear yard depth from 20 to 15, 15 to 9 spaces, truck loading spaces eliminated, and the front property line from 6 feet to 0 feet on Smithtown Boulevard, and variance to reduce the parking setback from 6 to 2 feet on Dorothy Street, and reduce the minimum side yard on the west side from 6 to 0 for a dumpster. Again, you can see this all on the plan, and the variance to reduce front yard Smithtown Boulevard from 50 to 35 for the dumpster enclosure. This is about the best that we can do with this particular piece of property. It's only a one-story structure with a basement, and we asked the board for its favorable consideration. It won't be a detriment to nearby properties. It will conform to the local businesses in the area. As you know, Smithtown Boulevard slowly but surely is being built up with new buildings, dotting along with the old buildings that's been there for many years. Whether the benefit sought can be achieved by some other method. No, it really can't. We need this variance in order to build a structure. It's only 1,680 square feet. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, not when you look at this particular lot, which was configured this way for many, many years. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect on or impact on the physical or environmental conditions. Not really. It's just a one-story structure. And whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, it wasn't. It's vacant land now. And again, you know, upon discussions and advice from the planning department, specifically Blaze, this is what we come up with. We asked the board for its favorable consideration. I have Frank Ridley here if you have any questions.
Planning?
I
Anything?
think Mr. Tramarko covered everything.
Okay, gentlemen?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
Rarely moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be going to the adjourned hearings now.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17333, Halleck Ridley, 9 Sunken Meadow Road, Fort Salonga. The location of the property, the north side of Sunken Meadow Road, 617 feet west of Crestwood Drive. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting a variance to permit environmentally sensitive land, slopes in excess of 15% to be altered. Variance to reduce the minimum lot area from 43,560 square feet to 38,528 square feet due to the ESL for lot number 2. Reduce the frontage at setback line from 150 feet to 25 feet for lot number 1. Reduce the frontage at the setback line from 150 feet to 121 feet for lot number 2. Reduce the road frontage from 40 feet to 25 feet for lot number 1. Increase the front yard paving from 25 to 40% for lot number 1. Increase the side yard paving from 25 to 88% for lot number 1.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, my name is Vincent Tramarko. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavit of posting to David Flynn. As you know, in certain circumstances where you have a planning board application, the planning board sends the case over to the Board of Appeals, and then a little bit later on, they send over a recommendation to this board. The recommendation was a favorable recommendation, which the board has. Just to remind the board what's going on with this piece. All right. We are asking for the variances, which was really generated years ago by the failure of the planning board when they did Martingale Gate subdivision. They did a road, but they ran this road all the way up, but not close enough to this lot. So what you have is basically a landlocked parcel. This road connected all of these lots on the map, except my client's lot, which was about, the cul-de-sac was about 30 or 35 feet away. One of the things that happened during the course of this project, my client and I went to see the former director of planning, Frank DeRubius, and he said, see if you can get access through the back. Maybe you can talk to these two neighbors in these two lots and get access with a passageway or a right-of-way to your property. We did that. They said no. So the only alternative we have is to create a lot behind the lot, commonly known as a flag lot. But in this situation, as you can see from the planning board recommendation, they look favorably on it, and we hope that you also would look favorably on it. Again, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here the last time. We wouldn't be at the planning board if they extended this road like they should have about 20 years ago. This map here shows other flag lots in the area. Those flag lots are within a couple of miles all around in the area of Fort Salonga and Meadow Road, Sunken Meadow Road. There were some questions that the planning department raised, specifically David Flynn, which we hope we answered. I don't know whether it was to his liking or not, but the planning board listened. One of the questions that David had was, well, if a house is all the way in the back and there's a fire, you might not know that the house is back there. So we went around and we found that there are many, many houses that are set back, so you can't see them from the road. And yet they have mailboxes, and those mailboxes indicate that there are houses there. Not to mention the fact that fire departments today have GPSs and they punch it in, and they can find anything faster than most people can, because that's their business. There was a question of noise generated by the car going up and down this driveway to the back, and it's really no different than any car riding down a long driveway. The application, the way it's set up now, is the best alternative that we have. We did talk to David Flynn about the size of the driveway and the recommendations that he had with respect to that. I think we ended up with 2 driveways, 2 ingresses and egress. Based on David Flynn's suggestion, my client would do either one. I think that that's what planning board wants in any event. So whether this is an undesirable situation for the character of the area, it isn't. The lots in this particular area and most of the area in Fort Salonga are long, long lots. Many, many houses are set back well over the minimum requirement, which I think is 100 feet in R43. They're set back 200 or 300 feet. And why? Because they want privacy. They don't want to be seen from the road, and that's their right. So we're not asking for anything that's hard for this board to grant. Whether the relief sought can be done by some other way, no. Either we get the variances and the planning board gives us this lot, or we don't build, period. There's no other way to do it. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, it really isn't when you look at what we're asking for and the lot and the size of the lot. There was some steep slope issues, but I think we talked about that either the last time or with the planning board. Those steep slopes basically were man-made, and there's a retaining wall with the existing house. So, and there's a little bit of steep slopes up here, but nothing terrible. The way the house is set up in the back, it's far away from the house in the front, and it's a reasonably sized lot without too many angles to it. So we asked the board for its favorable consideration of the last criteria, or the last two, whether there's any environmental effects. No, there isn't. It's just a house. And was the difficulty self-created? In this case, the difficulty was created by what the planning board unknowingly did, I guess, years and years ago when they did that street and that subdivision and stopped short by 35 feet of this lot. So we asked the board for its favorable consideration. Also asked the board to bear in mind that the planning board recommended to your board for a favorable decision. Thank you.
Okay. Planning?
I don't believe we have any comments, Madam Chair.
Gentlemen?
Well,
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone, I'm sorry. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Please come up.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is John Tweedy. It's T-W-E-E-D-I-E. I live at, sorry.
Yeah.
I live at 101 Fort Salonga Road in Fort Salonga.
Okay, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead.
So I also would like to add as well that I'm president of the Fort Salonga Association and here representing the association and some of the neighbors. So I wanted to address the points that you have over here as far as undesirable character. We live in a community that has large properties with one home per property, and to divide the property would leave an undesirable effect on our neighborhood and would also lead to future applications for other properties in the immediate area. One of the reasons many of the residents moved to the area on Sunken Meadow Road is because there are a lot of horse properties there. You know, therefore you do have long, thin, narrow properties with a lot of acreage and one home. As far as other alternatives, they could take down the two existing buildings there, I believe one of which doesn't have a permit, and build one new home on that property. As far as the request being substantial, we believe it is excessive to ask to reduce any property frontage from 40 feet to 25 feet. And I think when Blaise read some of the numbers over there before you heard these percentages, 38%, 88%, I consider that extremely excessive. Would it have an adverse effect on the environment? No, I don't believe so. Is it self-created? I would say yes. The applicant was well aware of what he was getting when he purchased the property with the intent to divide and build for a profit. Also, Mr. Tremarca mentioned Martingale Gate, the road that is behind the property, and the fact that they went to some of the residents and asked them to give up their property as a right-of-way to reach this back property, and the residents said no. I don't know if they're here tonight, but there's other residents here that are also very opposed to it. And I believe that the planning board and the zoning board, when they designed Martingale Gate, intentionally left that right to those people, whether they want to allow this property to be accessed. And as Mr. Tremarca also made a point about flag lots in the town of Fort Salonga, and yes, there are several, but they're not directly on Sunken Meadow Road there, and he also mentioned this, they're miles away. Let's see. And another point as well, this evening, Mr. Tremarca also mentioned many houses are set back from the road. I'm born and raised in Fort Salonga. I've lived there all my life. As a matter of fact, when I went to the first planning meeting for this proposal, when I heard that, I started to take more note of how many houses were actually visible from the road, and I would say there's probably 1 to 2% of the homes that are not visible from the road. So we are opposed to a flag lot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone else? Please line up if you're going to speak, because we have other applications. Is there anyone else going to speak? Just please come forward. May I have your name, please?
Debbie Triola, Triola. I live at 11A Sunken Meadow Road. I'm actually two properties.
Wait, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, go ahead.
My property is on Sunken Meadow Road itself. I'm two properties to the east, but our rear properties are adjoined. We share a property line where he is proposing putting a new home where that log cabin is. I've lived in Fort Salonga for 24 years. I'm a resident of 11A Sunken Meadow Road for 18 years. The nature of Fort Salonga is minimally 1 acre zoning. That's why I live here. To divide number 9 is completely inconsistent with the zoning codes in Fort Salonga. To put a home where that log cabin is that has ostensibly it never had a CO, never had a permit, and never even showed up on the tax maps until 2011. And now to put a home on that footprint would affect 4 homes and basically put a new home in 4 people's backyards, besides being completely inconsistent with the zoning and also increasing the density of the area. Also, if I go to the variance considerations, it is a very undesirable change that would change the character of Fort Salonga to start sticking homes in little corners of lots. If you look at the property, the steep slope, there isn't even 1 3/4 acres, and he's proposing to build 2 homes on 1 3/4 acres. Actually, if you look at the January 2nd report from the Smithtown Planning Board, which I was dismayed that they sent it to your board, if you read the report, they feel that the proposal to put a new residence there is completely against all those 5 considerations, and that it will create a substantial variance for the area. And then I guess lastly, I do believe this was all self-created. This property was purchased well after Martingale Gate was put in, and well aware of the situation and the egress and the ingress to the property. And as a neighbor on the east side of the property, I'm completely impacted because that's where the steep slope area is. And that's, you can read from the Smithtown Planning Board's report of January 2nd. So with all those considerations, I please ask you to consider to not allow to have an additional home on less than 1 3/4 acres in Fort Salonga.
Thank you. Anyone else? No one? Okay, Mr. Tramarko.
For the record, the report that the lady was talking about was from the planning department, not the planning board. The planning board recommended to this board that you approve the variance. This property is 2 acres in size, and each building plot is 1 acre. So, you know, the question of not conforming to the zoning, yeah, it doesn't have the frontage, but short of that, and the steep slopes, most of which were created many years ago when they built the first house, which my client is not going to knock down, he's going to keep. He's requesting to build a second house, knock down the log cabin, and put in a second house on a property that's pretty regular in size and is basically 1 acre. So again, we ask the board for its favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Nope, yeah, I know, but I asked anyone to come up before he came up. All right, I'm going to let you come up, but please, quickly, because it's not fair that I did, you didn't raise your hand in the beginning. Go ahead. Let me have your name.
Harry Triola, 11A Sunken Meadow Road.
Okay, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Go ahead.
In reference to the acreage, it is not 2 acres.
Okay.
I would just like to put that down for the record.
We will check that too.
It is not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
You really moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17354, Cosentino Realty, Comac, 660-670 Comac Road, Comac. The location of the property, the east side of Comac Road, 40 feet south of Henry Street. The property is zoned SCB. The applicant is requesting a special exception to permit a counter-service restaurant, a special exception to permit outdoor dining area for a restaurant, variance of a special exception standard to permit an outdoor dining area for a counter-service restaurant, a variance to reduce the minimum parking setback from the rear property line from 6 feet to 2 feet, reduce the minimum rear yard depth from 50 feet to 27 feet.
Okay. Let me just say this, ladies and gentlemen. This was a hearing in June. I adjourned this hearing only for new evidence. If you do not have new evidence, you are not going to be able to speak. Everything is on the record. So if you spoke at that other hearing, that is all on the record. So the only thing that you can come up to this podium after Mr. Baker speaks is with new evidence only. Mr. Baker, you have any new evidence?
John Baker, 15 Wyandanch Boulevard, Smithtown, 11787.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
How you doing? The application you heard back in June, same application. I don't have anything to add to it.
Okay. All right. All right. Is there anyone here that has new evidence?
Good evening.
And your name, please?
Chairwoman. I am Suffolk County Legislator Steve Stern. It is my great privilege to represent the 16th Legislative District
All right.
and the neighborhood of New Imperial Gardens.
But you spoke last time,
I
Mr.
did,
Stern.
and I am only here to present new evidence.
Only here. Okay, I'm going to swear you in this time, please. All right? Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody's having a safe and enjoyable summer. We were here last on June 9th, and this board, after hearing a presentation from the applicant as well as numerous members of the community, there was an adjournment asking for additional information and specifically an analysis regarding traffic due to concerns raised here by myself and by members of Suffolk County government, as well as the several residents that had come before this board. During that conversation, I do recall that one of the comments on the part of the applicant was that there had been some conversation with a representative of the Suffolk County Department of Public Works, that there was information that had been forwarded to them, and the comment had come back that what was going on there or what had been proposed would be acceptable. I had asked at the time, how could that possibly be? I know that several members of the community asked the same. What are they looking at,
All right,
and
Mr.
how can they
Stearns,
make that
would you
determination?
Just present the evidence you have, please.
Sure.
Without comments.
The reason why, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board, is because the information, the site plan that had been forwarded to the Suffolk County Department of Public Works was a site plan that was dated April 26th of 2014. That is what this board had before it as well, when in fact, after the last hearing here, the site plan that, that the developer then had, the applicant, had submitted was one that was done over a year later, dated May 18th of 2015. Madam Chair, there's a tremendous difference here because one is a site plan that was done a year prior that shows a lineup of restaurants that essentially occupy the footprint of what had been there before. The updated site plan is the one that, that shows that there is, within this tight area, 2 drive-thrus, one being a Chick-fil-A and one being a Dunkin' Donuts. This is substantially different than the one that had been proposed earlier and the one that had been submitted to the Suffolk County Department of Public Works for its consideration. So the information that was provided here at the last hearing was based on commentary from Suffolk County Department of Public Works on the wrong information, on outdated information by information that was over 1 year old, and I have both site plans that I can certainly submit for this board's consideration. So after the adjournment, this board had requested that a traffic analysis be done, so a study was done and submitted earlier to this board for consideration. That study was reviewed by the Suffolk County Department of Public Works and the Suffolk County Department of Planning. And by the way, let me say that the traffic analysis that this board requested was submitted to the Suffolk County Department of Public Works with the old site plan, the one that was done back in April of 2014, which I believe is important. And so both agencies reviewed what had been submitted. The study consists of about 2 pages and some diagrams. Here's what's important about that. In the city of Wallingford, Connecticut, they had done a study, a traffic analysis that this board had requested of this developer. 27 pages in that case, as opposed to the 2 and change that was submitted here, talking about future conditions, crash survey stats, no build analysis. Very important to consider that in that study also, it was similar in that several big box outlets across the street from a residential area directly on point. And so you have a traffic analysis that was done by some other jurisdiction that is very similar to the situation that we're talking about here, 27 pages, as opposed to about 2 and change. In Framingham, Massachusetts, the executive summary of their traffic analysis was 11 pages. And I wish I had a clip big enough for the over 200 pages that that jurisdiction prepared on a traffic analysis, also on a very similar situation with the Chick-fil-A and others. Again, making the same request that this board did. This is what they got, as opposed to the 2 pages and change that was offered up to this board. 264 pages in total, and that was, by the way, in a solely commercial area, not having an impact on a residential community right across the street. And again, I didn't even have a clip in my office large enough to clip this study. In Bellevue, Washington, and this is important, we've been in contact with their public, the Department of Public Works personnel and their public safety personnel on an ongoing basis. They had a Chick-fil-A that opened on April 9th of 2015. Today, we just had our most updated, our most recent conversation with their public safety personnel that are saying all of these months later, they're still having issues. They are still having issues even after that city required the Chick-fil-A to pick up the cost of public safety efforts as a precondition to getting their permit to operate. $23,000 in overtime costs for their law enforcement, and today that company is paying out of pocket for private security costs because it continues to be an issue. Their experience. You can't look at this proposal according to the standard of fast food drive-through. Based on their experience and others across the country, it's not a drive-through restaurant like any other. It's an attraction. And that's how you have to look at it. Going through the permit process for a reconfiguration right now to alleviate the problems that they are still experiencing there many months later. In fact, they tell me that they have signs, large traffic signs outside on their exits and the exits and entrances to their interstates, directing traffic to other exits and other entrances because of the traffic that's still being caused months later. They send a grand opening team that they promise will have jurisdiction and control over the situation, but once it opens, they leave. And again, months later, that community is still dealing with the challenges caused by a very similar proposal here. I have here, this is a list of several links for consideration for this committee. Several links from news articles and video from other jurisdictions across the country that have dealt and are dealing with this very issue. So this is not speculation. This is not one of those situations where a concerned community comes out and expresses their concerns. It's fact. It's fact, and there are several examples across the country where municipalities are still dealing with this very issue. Now, this board knows that on a local matter such as this one, county agencies usually don't get involved. Our Suffolk County Department of Public Works is reluctant to get involved in local zoning and land use issues, as is our planning department. But this board received correspondence from the Department of Public Works, in fact, 2 pieces of correspondence recently, that states you can't just look at this proposal based on the 4 corners and the parking lots of this particular proposal. It's part of the regional issue that is the Comac Road corridor, which this board is very familiar with and has been for years. Clearly, it is an issue of regional significance when you're talking about the Comac Road corridor. And by the way, the study that was submitted takes a look at the parking lot and some of the side streets on the eastern side of the street, but makes no mention at all of the western side of the street, which of course lies within the town of Huntington. The analysis looks at pass-by trips. Again, you can't do that here because this is different. This is not your standard drive-through restaurant that you can analyze based on statistics from the past. In addition, because of what's been seen across the country, you have to have a law enforcement and public safety plan. That should be required by this board. Again, this is not speculation. This is based on what's been going on across the country, and it is well documented. The Suffolk County Department of Public Works, in its correspondence to this board, stated that the traffic analysis that was submitted by the applicant is deficient. And so I would respectfully suggest that the town, and by the way, not just the town of Smithtown, but every town, review applicable ordinances that may apply to this kind of a situation. And I would direct this board to take another look at Town of Smithtown Code Section 119, which should be expanded to include this type of a grand opening, special or ongoing events that by definition, are intended to draw large crowds and the resulting traffic. That's what is before this board. I have a letter this evening that I would like to submit for your consideration. Thank you. From the Suffolk County Department of Planning, which is new. I'm not going to go through all of the elements, but I would draw this board's attention to their analysis
We did read this.
of what was submitted by the applicant here, using words like not responsive, not comprehensive, fails to address significant issues. Opinions of the engineer here are unfounded, did not do their analysis according to industry standard. Methodology utilized here for trip generation is suspect. And as a result of the hearing here, this board sought additional information from the applicant, which was not presented to the Department of Planning or to the Department of Public Works. Both of those agencies have formally expressed numerous serious concerns about this proposal and have sought additional information, documentation, and analysis as well. They both have stated that what has been provided to date is insufficient at best. I respectfully request that this board find the same. Both county departments have chosen to be involved here when they don't even have the jurisdiction. And again, as this board knows, both agencies are reluctant to get involved in local issues. But that's how concerned they are, and they don't even have the jurisdiction. This board has the decision-making authority. It has jurisdiction over the decision that will have significant impact on traffic, safety, and quality of life for area businesses and residents. And so it is my hope that you share that same concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. May I?
Yeah.
You classify Chick-fil-A as an attraction. What's your definition of an attraction versus a fast food restaurant?
I do not have a definition of attraction. That is my request to this board and to the policymakers in the town of Smithtown and every other municipality as well. As what would I consider an attraction? That type of a business which by definition is as a part of their opening or other type of special event, whether that is for a very short period of time or an ongoing period of time, is meant by definition to draw a very large crowd for a period of time that has a reasonable expectation of resulting in traffic concerns, public safety concerns. That's what has been the experience from exactly this kind of proposal on multiple occasions across the country. We should all have every reason to expect that by definition we can expect no different in our community. And so I would request that whether it comes from this board or from the policymakers in the town of Smithtown, that you give serious consideration to amending the applicable code to include that as a definition within those events that should be covered under the town code.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, please. Have you spoken before?
I have not, and I'm here on behalf of Huntington Town.
Wait a minute.
You know what, why don't we break? Because you have a half a dozen people that want to speak, okay?
Okay.
And he's going to reset the tape.
We need to take a 5-minute break.
Sure.